Welcome to Build Visions for Africa. Build Visions for Africa believes there's a one Africa ecosystem where all African lives are interconnected and we succeed together and fall together. Today, the discussion is on the ECHO. The ECHO is the West African common currency that is proposed. Why the ECHO? It is proposed common currency, like I said, of the West African countries. It is planned to be introduced among these ECOWAS countries as a common medium. The key goal is to create a common currency for all West African countries, most especially including the French countries, the Francophone countries. And it is to replace the CFA franc, which is now the common currency of the French-speaking West African countries. This is a sample of the ECO. The expected impact is to boost economic development in West Africa region, improve cross-border trade, facilitate trade through easy payments, lower transaction costs among states, and to peg the currency to the level of the euro. Implementation terms and conditions. Criteria for which countries will be ready to participate in this common currency. These are criteria for ECOWAS countries to meet, called the convergent criteria. There are two levels. Level 1, a single-digit inflation rate at the end of each year. 2, a fiscal deficit of no more than 4% of their GDP. A central bank deficit financing of no more than 10% of the previous year's tax revenue. A gross external reserve that can give imports cover for 3 months. So they should be ready to have reserve to cover themselves for 3 months in terms of imports. The second level convergent is the provision of new domestic default payments, of new domestic default payments and liquidation of existing ones. So you have to be able to clear your table and be neat payment and not to acquire a lot of debt. Tax revenue should be equal to or greater than 20% of the GDP. Should be able to raise enough income locally through tax. And the wage bill to tax revenue should be less than 35%. You should not be paying all your tax revenue as payment to workers. That is relevant because in most West African countries, the government is the highest employer, the largest employer. So at level 2, public investment to tax revenue. Public investment to tax revenue equal to or greater than 20%. So there should be investment and there should be an environment to enhance investment, a stable real exchange rate, and a positive interest rate. But there is a problem, or at least a question, what I call the French resistance. For now, all the Francophone countries deposit monies to the French treasury. So the question is that, are the Francophone countries fully independent of France financially? Will there be a problem of deposit in the French treasury of part of their foreign exchange reserves as the status quo now? Will the management of the ECO be solely by West African states without the interference of France? Food for thought. With France being the ultimate loser in a strong West African currency, Are measures being put in place to make sure France does not destabilize the region to gain some leverage? These are serious questions to be asked. So, how about the implementation and rollout and what is happening so far? Implementation, progress, and timeline, as I want to call it now. On 20th May 2020, the Council of Ministers for French Republic adopted a bill to deposit, not to deposit, to go against the status quo, not to deposit and not is capitalized half of their foreign exchange reserve to the public treasury of France. They were basically covering up for France. The French government is expected to withdraw from all governing bodies of the central bank of the Francophone West African countries. The question is, why should France dominate the supposed independent Francophone countries in the first place? The central bank of the Francophone West African states need the approval of both houses of legislature in France, the National Assembly, and the Senate for the provision of the bill to come to force. So this bill that they are even adopting, they need permission from France for the bill to come into force. As independence days, they still need permission from France, only in Africa. Why should both houses of the French legislature, that is the National Assembly and the Senate, have to approve the bill for its provision to be enforced in the first place? However, that's not the only challenge. There are other challenges. As at now, only 5 countries out of the 15 are said to have met the basic criteria for a single currency. That is a budget deficit of no more than 4%, an inflation rate that is not higher than 5%, debts less than 70% of their GDP. So progress is still late. The convergence criteria has become the major challenge, apart from France, to the introduction of the currency. And it seems to be stringent for most of these countries. So the question is, what is the way forward? One, I believe mainstreaming some of the Agenda 2063 AU policies into national planning, because those policies are good. And if they are implemented with a good political will, a lot can change. Aiming to achieve low inflation so that the convergent category can be met. That is true creation of sustainable fiscal policies and structural policies that will foster long-term growth. There's always the issue of bureaucracy in Africa. So removing bureaucracies and boosting intra-regional trade to drive an increase in foreign investment, increased job creation leading to enhanced achieving of the convergence criteria. There is also the need for continuous collaborative and collective efforts to deal adequately with all challenges together as a group, as a team, and have a strong political will for the program to succeed. So there was a plan release. It was supposed to be released in January 2020. And we all know 2020 became the year of the pandemic, that nothing happened. So we hope and pray that this year, at least, there will be improvements towards its implementation. Release might be out of range, but improvement towards implementation is something that can be done. At least bringing most of the countries up to the convergent point for takeoff. So, what do we do now? We need to demand policy change. We need to advocate for this implementation, effective implementation. We need to get involved. I want everybody listening and hearing me to be an advocate of the AU, of ECOWAS, of the common currency trade zone, and demand policy change. This has been Build Visions for Africa. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel, and thank you.